Happy Monday. Well, are you a morning person or a night person? Personally, I'm a morning person. I get up pretty early and I'm pretty good in the morning, or as good as I get anyway. But I start fading about 9 o'clock at night. Now, that's also a function of age. I understand that. Once upon a time, I stayed up until midnight or 1 o'clock. But yeah, we all know about that. It does matter a little bit, though. And I want to talk a little bit about the city council and the way that they made a pretty big decision after midnight last week. This is after a long talk, several years actually, about how to not make decisions after midnight. Or more accurately, I guess, is to not do things after an 8-hour meeting. They've tried a couple of things. They've tried cutting down the amount, or the time, not the amount, of public comment. They do this little thing where council members are only supposed to talk for 5 minutes. That's worked real well. And they've tried. I give them that. But what it really is a function of what's on the agenda. And I give a lot of credit to the people who usually put the agenda together. The mayor, the city manager, all the council people. But every once in a while, they kind of mess up. And this one was a biggie. You and I both know that if you're going to talk about dogs and cats, you better set aside 3-4 hours. If you're going to talk about housing and homelessness, set aside another couple hours. And then there's always parking and streets, but we won't talk about that today because that's the one thing they didn't talk about there. They did what's called short-term rentals. That's called Airbnb to most of us. And they were trying to set a policy for that. That's a big deal. It's a housing thing. And then we all know, well, let's talk about animal care services. Well, here comes 100 people. There's a real problem. They'll tell you about it too. Every one of them will. They'll tell you again and again and again and again and again. It's their right. It's called a free country, right? And then they add in the Belmont, what they're calling it now, Belmont Beach Aquatic Center. It's what was once the Belmont Plaza Olympic Pool. It's a big deal. It's only a big deal for some folks, and it's kind of an East Side issue, but it's been a big deal for a long time. And it's kind of a big deal for me, because I've been covering it for a long time. Well, they didn't even start talking about the pool until 11:35. 11:35. I didn't know it at 11:35. I was sound asleep. But I checked the tape. And it's a great thing, by the way, those tapes. You can watch them anytime. But back to the issue. By that time, those council members had been sitting there for 7 hours. All right, 6.5. I know they're good, but they're not that good. And they try. They tried to pay attention. They tried to focus. But when you start talking at a quarter after midnight about something kind of bureaucratic, things get kind of messed up pretty quick. So what's the solution? Like I said, they've tried a lot of ways to shorten the meeting. That didn't work all that well. It really has to come down to what you put on the agenda, like I said before. Don't put on 3 important big items on one agenda. Come on. You know that, Tom. You know that, Robert. You just can't let it go. So think about it. And I know this was probably a one-off, right? Because now there'll never be another council meeting after midnight. At least till March. Help us out, huh? Thanks.